Hi, I'm Eric Ostro, host of Live at the Lortel. For Season 3, we are focusing on the intersection of arts and advocacy. So many off-Broadway artists give back to their communities. This season, we are giving them the opportunity to speak about how and why they chose the causes they devote themselves to, and how those causes help make them the people and artists they are today. Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Ostro. I'm one of the hosts this evening of Live at the Lortel. Excuse me for talking very, very fast because I'm very, very nervous, to be honest. Let me bring my co-host on, John Andrew.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, John. This is top tier interview. This artist was number one on my list when we started Live at the Lortel, and I'm shaking. I'm so excited. Miss Light made her professional stage debut in 1970 before her Broadway debut in the 1975 revival of A Doll's House. Her breakthrough role was in the ABC daytime soap opera One Life to Live, for which she won 2 Daytime Emmy Awards. In 1999, Miss Light starred in the Pulitzer Prize-winning off-Broadway play Wit. Mm-hmm. She received her first Tony nomination in 2011 for Lombardi, and in 2012 and 2013, Light won consecutive Tony Awards for Other Desert Cities and The Assembled Parties. In 2014, she began starring in Amazon Studio series Transparent, receiving Golden Globe and Primetime Emmy nominations. In 2019, she was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Miss Light is a prominent LGBTQ+ and HIV/AIDS activist. Her advocacy work began in the early 1980s, in the early days of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. In addition, she is a board member and advocate for many organizations and charities representing AIDS-related and human rights issues, many of which we speak about today. Currently, she is working on HBO Max's Julia. And without further ado, please welcome my idol, the luminous Judith Light.
Woohoo!
Welcome.
Oh my goodness, what an introduction. Thank you so much.
Miss Light, for me, this is a dream come
please
true.
Call me Judith. If you call me Miss Light, it's just, we have a long time to speak to each other. Please,
okay.
Not so, please.
Okay,
but
Judith.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Judith,
But please, it's you. It's us.
We met actually on the red carpet at the last Lortel Awards that was actually live, and your press person was walking you through, and I tried to grab you, without being like stalkerish, and tell you about the Lortel. And so we've been trying really hard for a long time to get you on the show, and I'm just thrilled and so honored.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I really am. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
When I mentioned that I was getting the chance to interview you today, everybody across the board said, "Oh, I love her. She's incredible. I saw her in this. I met her here. I love her from this." So it's just so you are beloved, and we're very excited to get to chat with you. And I got to meet you because of Shakina.
My girl.
Yeah. You came to see a Strange Loop with her, and we got to meet you there. So that was wonderful.
Yeah. That Strange Loop is pretty spectacular. That Michael R. Jackson. I mean.
Yeah. Wow. John is one of the cast members.
That's another story for another time. Talk about
yes, it sure is.
Using his talent for making product and to win the Pulitzer Prize. I mean, that's just pretty extraordinary. Yeah. Anyway, and
he's incredible.
Shakina's just glorious.
Yeah.
Did you see her show at Joe's Pub, Manifest Pussy?
I did. I've seen that one. I've seen several of her things, and worked with her at Musical Theater Factory. Shakina's amazing.
She's amazing.
But we're here to talk about you.
Yeah, you.
Okay.
So first of all, how are you? Where were you? What were you doing when the whole world shut down?
right now, I'm in Los Angeles, and I literally just got back here. I was in Savannah, Georgia for 2 months. I've just been shooting a feature for Fox Searchlight with Anya Taylor-Joy and Ray Fiennes and Nicholas Hoult, among many other esteemed, and my dear friend from the theater and from life itself, Reed Birney, directed by the glorious Mark Mylod, who directs Succession. Anyway, so I was there. So I was in Savannah for 2 months. And prior to that, I had been doing a film in Oyster Bay with my dear friend, Zach Quinto. And then I was doing Julia with my friend, Chris Kaiser. I've known him for a long time, and Chris is writing and producing and running Julia with the wonderful playwright Daniel Goldfarb. So that's where I've been, and that's what I've been doing. And I've been in Savannah, and then I went to New York, and now I'm in LA, and then I'll go back to New York, and then I don't know. That's where I am. And where was I when the pandemic shut down?
Yeah.
Was my husband, Robert Desiderio, had just finished his first novel, and it was being published. And we did an event for him at the Strand in the beginning of March 2020. And, you know, the Strand bookstore.
Yes, of course.
And we did that event, and he went back to LA right away, because we have a place in both places. And he went back, and I got this call to do a hair and makeup test for Lin-Manuel Miranda, because this film that I did with Lin is about to come out, Tick, Tick, Boom, you know, the Jonathan Larson thing. Right.
Amazing.
And so they called me and they said, okay, this was Friday the 13th. And they said, okay, we're going to come get you, and you're going to come do the test. And I said, excuse me, Broadway just shut down. Are you sure you I don't know, just saying. And so they said, no, we're going to come. I said, I'll walk over to you. You're really close. I'll walk over. I don't know, 20 minutes later, they called me back and they said, we're going to put this all on hold for a minute. So I stayed in New York when Robert went back to LA. And then I didn't get back to LA until I went back in the beginning of September.
Oh, wow.
From March to September to do the camera test for Ryan Murphy for American Crime Story, the impeachment of Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was when we shut down, because we weren't sure whether we were going to start to shoot Tick, Tick, Boom in April, and we hadn't finished The Politician. So Gwyneth Paltrow and I finished it on the phone to finish up the information and the exposition that had to finish The Politician, so that it could drop in June of 2020. And so I just kept waiting in New York, wondering if we were going to get back, if, you know, Gwyneth was going to be able to come into town, or whether we were going to start impeachment there, or whatever. Nobody knew anything, or whether we were going to, you know, go back and start shooting, to begin shooting Tick, Tick, Boom. So anyway, so that was really, so I kept waiting. And then finally I had to get back to LA, and then I went back to New York. We shot Tick, Tick, Boom. And then I came back to New York and started shooting impeachment. So that's where I was. And that fills you in on my life. And
incredibly busy.
Goodbye.
You know, I would love to talk about your advocacy. I want to start with that. And let me just say how grateful I am as a gay man of a certain age for what you've done for our LGBTQ plus community. You've been a huge advocate for our rights since long before it was fashionable. What literally drew you into giving a voice for those that did not have a voice?
They didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, simple as that. And, you know, it's so interesting that you say before it was fashionable. What a thing to have to say.
Mm.
I would, a couple things. I was watching the community, and I saw that the response to the community of people being sick and dying in droves, people that were my friends, people that I considered family, and nobody was paying attention except pretty much for Elizabeth Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few others that were really peppered in there, but I didn't have the position that Elizabeth had. But I knew that what mattered was the injustice that I was witnessing. And I saw a community that was so, and still is to me, so inspiring and alive in their dying. That's the only way I can describe it. The fearlessness, the coming out, the stating of the authenticity of who everyone was. When you face a culture, the law, the religion, your family that says there's something wrong with you, and you stand up in the face of that anyway and you say, this is who I am. That comes from a kind of courage and bravery that I didn't ever think I ever had in my life. And I just saw that and I thought, the problem is not the LGBTQIA plus community's problem. It's the problem of people whose prejudice or divisiveness. And I saw that people were brave, and that inspired me. And I saw an injustice, and I saw the level of homophobia that was running rampant in the country and still is to this day. And I felt compelled to say something about it, or to find a way that I could support in whatever small way that I could. And that was what mattered to me. It's like when you see an injustice, for some people, they don't feel they have to do anything, or some people and I always said, I said to my manager, my longtime manager, who was gay and who has since passed away, I said, if I ever get any kind of voice, I want to use it in some way. If I ever get a platform, I want to use it in some way. And when this started to happen, I said, this is my platform. This is where I would choose to be. And that's how it happened. I mean, it really was it wasn't for anything other than I saw this terrible illness. And I couldn't stand it. And, it's like, the president, if there's a flood or if there's a hurricane and, everybody runs to to say, wait, we have to do something. We have to help everybody. And it was like, nobody was going.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, these presidents weren't even saying the word AIDS. And it's like, are you kidding me? And we were losing, how many we lost in the community. We lost a generation of people, of talent, of artists. It was gone. And it just, for me, it was just unconscionable what I saw happening, and I wanted to say something about it. So that's how it happened.
I wanted to say one more thing about it. I read this New York Times Magazine article with Greta Thunberg, and she says, we hear our excuses, and she's not impressed. And I read this piece on her, and it talks about, why does it have to be the celebrities to make us stand up and pay attention?
Because people don't feel they make a difference. They don't know how important they are. They don't know. It's like, you think it has to be this big, grand, glorious, thing where you're making a stand.
Right.
It's not that. It's in those tender, small ways. It was those, God, those incredible nurses who sat with those boys when they were dying because they'd been disowned by their families because they were gay. Not because they had AIDS, not because they were sick and dying, but because they were gay and the families were embarrassed. And they sat with them and they held their hands. It's like the smallest act makes such a difference. And I don't think that people really know what a difference everybody can make. I don't think they know that. And we don't tell people enough. It's like, you're everything. You are it. You can make the difference. You know, Buckminster Fuller, who created the geodesic dome, used to say that he had dedicated his life to demonstrating what the little individual could do.
Mhm.
That no matter how small your act, whether it's an act of service or kindness or generosity, whatever it might be, you make a difference, and you make a difference in whatever way. Because, you know, life isn't about getting stuff, it's about how much you give. It's how much, that's when we feel the most connected to our souls, that and that we matter, that we all matter.
There's this book called Uncharitable,
Yeah.
by Dan Pallotta.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he talks about how we can reframe the way we look at charity. Charity is about handing out. It's about shifting the way people, do with our endeavors, to give a hand up, not necessarily a handout. I mean,
Yeah.
$2. If everybody gave $2, that would be wonderful for a cause. But it's not even about that. It's about doing the smallest act of kindness and showing up and
Yes.
doing something not for yourself.
That's right. How did you come upon that book? Dan is a friend of mine. I did the AIDS ride, and I did the AIDS ride because of Dan. Believe me, I don't know how to ride a bike from San Francisco. And
I came up
my tuchus was so sore. But maybe that was
you said my favorite word,
tuchus.
tuchus.
Right?
And my grandmother used to say that word. Yeah.
Right. But,
my grandmother used to say it all the time. Where is your tuchus?
Of course. So, but I did it. That's another story. But
it is. But
Dan,
I got his information from you, because I have been reading interviews and reading about you, and I follow your career very closely, and I follow what you do with your advocacy very closely. And you mentioned that book maybe, I don't know, a year ago, maybe in an interview that you did. And I had to read that book to see what small thing, or to look at it in a different way.
Yeah. You know what that book is about is a shift in a context. Context is more important than anything. It's not just what you do. It's where you come from and how you are being in the world. And Dan is saying, we can shift this. We think it has to be this way, and it's always been this way, but it doesn't have to be this way. And if there is enough will to shift something, it will transform. Not change, it will transform, which is a much bigger idea. And nothing, as Victor Hugo said, nothing is so powerful as an idea whose time has come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what I think AIDS and HIV and the coming into itself of the community, of the LGBTQIA plus community, it was a shift in context. It was transformational, and everybody knew it. The community went from what it was to what it has become, what it always was, but it rose like the phoenix from the ashes. But I'm so delighted to know that you've read Dan. It's a very powerful book.
Oh, I follow him. I know I'm hogging this. I have one more thing to say, John, and then I'll give it over to you.
No, please.
I was fascinated about how you grew up with your parents and your grandparents, and that's how you learned about giving back, was from your grandparents were immigrants who came over, and your father would drive you to your community theater and sleep in the car. I mean, I think very much that giving back is something that can be inherited from your parents and can be
It
taught.
can be inherited. And I know what you're saying. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please continue.
No, I'm
Please
done.
finish.
Please go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's not what you say. It's what is demonstrated to you. My parents were, and my grandparents were about service. And so, and I don't mean like service with the capital S. I mean in very small ways. They found ways to give. And I kept seeing that over and over. That's right. I went to a school that was 45 minutes away. I drove home for dinner. My father and I got in the car and we drove back practically 45 minutes to go to rehearsals for the plays. And he was in the institutional food business and he had to get up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So he slept in the car and waited for me and drove me back home another 45 minutes. And it was in that time and in that relating that my father and I talked about what it means to be of service, what it means to be a person of depth and substance, and what is all the glamour and all the glitz and all the jobs and all the stuff. None of that matters if you're a person who goes through the world taking and doesn't share or give or find ways to speak to an issue or something that you see in the world. And so it was a demonstration. It was a demonstration for my mother as well. My father, discovered that the partners that he had in his business were not on the up and up. And so he had to get out of that business. And my father sold shoes and washing machines to put me through college. And my mother was a sort of a partial part-time women's wear buyer. And she worked, in this woman's dress shop to also help me get through school. I mean, it's just, when you see that, or, my grandparents were remarkable people, so kind, so loving, so giving. And I attribute so much of that to their demonstration.
Ooh, that's amazing and powerful that you had that foundation of love to carry you and to take you into this career. What got you? So I'm going to transition a little bit and like start to talk about acting. What drew you to acting, and then ultimately to Carnegie Mellon?
What drew me to acting was that my mother helped me memorize "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" to perform it for my father. And my father's reaction was so overwhelming to me that I remember I was little. I ran into his arms and my mother was, clapping, and it was like, oh my goodness. And I thought, I'm going to be an actress. Well, not a good way to start. Let me just tell you. Because what that means is you're always looking for some kind of approval. You're always looking to go into this for some reasoning that is not supportive. And I had a moment where I had to I thought of getting out of the business. I had to stop and reconfigure and recontextualize what I was in this work for, and what the talent that I had been graced with and blessed with, how it would be used. So it was going from a place of wanting to get approval, be the center of attention, make it all about myself, to a shift, because that context was not making me happy. I was really miserable for a long, long time. When I shifted to, wait a minute, how can I be used? How can I be of some kind of service with this work I have, with this talent that I have? Then something different began to happen.
Hmm.
May
And
I just ask, Judith, was this a
yes,
part in your life after you left Carnegie Mellon University where you were
yeah,
so unhappy?
yeah,
So you moved to New York, and that's where the depression
that's
and the unhappiness settled in?
yeah. I went to Carnegie, and then I was in repertory theater for 5 years, and then I went to New
Oh,
York,
okay.
and and then within the structure of, and I've talked about this a lot. When I got to New York, I thought, well, my God, I'm here. Hello, is I don't I don't
Right.
understand. Or like people like looking, not you're not. Hello, who's paying
And
attention?
you
I'm
got cast in a
sorry.
Broadway
I'm
show
sorry.
with
I'm
Liv
like,
Ullmann immediately, right?
hello. It's like, wait, I don't understand. There's something wrong with this picture. Well, what was wrong with the picture was me and my attitude and what I thought I should be getting.
Hmm.
There's a moment that I've talked about this a lot, which is a sort of an existential moment where you reevaluate what you're doing in this life, what you're here
Hmm.
for. That was partly it, and the other part of it was that I was just being a spoiled brat, and I've said that before. I mean, it's like, can please give me mine? It's time for me. Hello, I'm here.
I mean,
Well,
part of that is just maturity, right? Like, I mean, I think,
no,
I think we
nah,
all,
nah, nah,
no?
nah. I mean, I mean, maturity. I mean, maybe
Or,
partly. I mean,
yeah.
something. I'd gone to Carnegie. I was, and when I'd gone to Carnegie, I got to Carnegie because there was a wonderful woman who was at my school, um, and Ruth Strand, and Ruth said, I think you should go to the Carnegie summer program to see if you like it, because it's one of the top drama schools in the country. But you can also get, an expanded education in other fields. And I always knew that was going to be important for me, because it was going to add to the depth of what I was going to use for my work, like history and art and film and
Yeah.
music. But I do think that it really had to do with a kind of demand and a kind of not understanding life, um, not appreciating what had already been given me. And then I went to Carnegie after that summer program, just to finish that thing you asked about Carnegie. But it was really when I got to New York, and there was this um, feeling that it was due me. It was owed
Hmm.
me. Other people were getting it. Why wasn't I?
Yeah.
And I had to reevaluate everything. I had to reevaluate the choices that I was making. I swore, and you've heard this, and you know this if you've done any research on me. I swore I'd never do a soap opera or a sitcom.
Or a
I
sitcom,
swore
right?
it up and down. And it's like I had to go, wait a minute. It's almost like the universe is listening. They go, oh,
Yes.
let's
Here you go.
let's show her a thing or two. You got it. That's right.
So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well,
You came to New York. You got cast in Liv Ullmann and Sam Waterston's production of A Doll's House, and then after that you were like, well, what's next? Where's my next Broadway show, and where's my film career?
hello. You
Right.
got it. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
No, it
And then
doesn't work
we,
like that.
you can tell. I mean, I know you've told the story a lot, but I love this story about your manager calling and or your agent calling and asking you to come in as an understudy for a soap opera, which I'd never heard of before in my life. An understudy for a soap opera. Can you
Either
talk
did
about
I,
that?
honey.
Oh, okay. So I'm not alone. Okay.
No. It wasn't even a part on a soap opera. It was the understudy to somebody who was not well and might not go on. It was,
Ah.
and it was literally, it was the agent, and they called, and I was broke and my unemployment was running out. And I said, no, I said I'd never do a soap opera. I'm not going to do it. They said at that time it was $350 for the day. I said, I'll take it. And I mean, what we do, right?
Oh my God.
So I went in and I saw how hard they worked. I saw the level of artistry that was there. I saw the dedication. I saw the discipline. I was stunned. I had no idea. I mean, really, I had no idea what this was. And I was entranced. I was stunned. I said, this is what these people are doing. They're putting an hour of programming out every single day.
Yeah.
And then I talked to the producer and he said, if you were to take over this role, what would you do with it? And we started talking and I was like, this is so fascinating to me. It was creative and exciting. And I had just been up at the O'Neill Playwrights Foundation. And I was working with Wendy Wasserstein. And on her first play, Uncommon Women and Others.
Oh,
with this
yeah.
Of course.
incredible group of women, really remarkable group of women. And, Swoosie Kurtz and Jill Eikenberry. And it was just like, and I began to realize that this was not about me. This was about serving the playwright. So I began to get this glimmer of, and this glimmer of maybe this isn't about you. Maybe this is about you making it about somebody else. And that was what I went into the conversation, the dialogue with the producer on One Life to Live. Now, they asked me to audition for it. There were several other people who were auditioning for the part, and they gave it to me. Amazing. And I realized that everything I knew from the theater, all the training that I had had, all the years in repertory, I could build something as a backstory for this character that they already had some of it in place, but that I could use my theater training. And mind you, we had theater directors who were directing us, Norman Hall and Peter Miner and David Pressman. And this wasn't beneath anybody. This was hard work. And it was where I learned to be a worker and to be appreciative of all aspects of our business and all aspects of this particular art. And that changed everything.
I'm so fascinated by your use of the word. You learned how to be a worker. You didn't say, like, you didn't use the word actor, but you used the word worker, and I'm struck by that. What does that mean? What does that mean to you to be a worker in this industry?
You're well, on the soap, if you have 40 pages of dialogue a day, right, you've got to learn it for the next day. You got to be up in the morning. You got to be there. Right. You've got to show up. You've got to know your work. You have got to have done your work. This is about, I think in a lot of ways, the Brits understand that. We in our country think a lot about celebrity. And when you're in the theater, you are working, you are doing 8 shows a week. You have got to show up. I don't care if you've done this for 304 performances. This is the first time that audience is going to see you do this. You better be there. You better be present. You better be ready. You better be there before half hour. And that's the way I see it. And maybe it's an old school way of thinking. It's that you go to work. It reminds me of my father. At 2:00 in the morning, he knew he had to get up there to get all the receiving of the fruits and vegetables that were coming in, to get it organized, to get it out, to get it to the hospitals and the schools and the whatever place was ordering the food that they needed to have. But it's like you have a work ethic. And that's how I hold it. This film I just finished in Savannah, Mark Mylod, this extraordinary director, he wanted all of us there. It's a one-room set. It was like a play. And he wanted, in a film, you do
Yeah.
your work one day, and then sometimes you're in a film and you don't see the other person who's in the film with you until, you're on the red carpet. It's like, oh, hi, how are you? But he wanted all of us there every single day. We were there for everybody's work, everybody's coverage, whether we were in the scene, whether we knew we were in the scene or not.
Huh.
Now, he might have had the camera, grab the whole room, but it was about the work, and it was about everybody else. And when you have a work ethic like that, you make it about everybody else. And that means when you do 8 shows a week and you're exhausted and you have
Yeah.
no life, you honor that because it's your work and it's who you are.
Yeah.
And so the authenticity of who you are, not what you do, but who you are, comes through and people feel it, and it makes a difference. And that's how I hold being a worker.
I love it. I love it. There's a quote. Eric does incredible research, and he read this thing about you at Carnegie Mellon, and you felt like a superwoman. But wait a minute, let's just look at that. Let's say I can have everything that I choose. So now, what do I choose? So talk to us about how do you choose the things that you choose and why?
I don't know how to answer why,
Hmm.
but I can tell, because why will just give you reasons that shift from time to time, from moment to moment, from where I happen to be at the moment in relating to my life and where I am. I listen, not with my mind. Let me make a distinction here. There's a sense in which I see how I and all of us in humanity, how we're programmed to think a certain way. And that comes from our growing up, what we see, how we're related to, but it's the mind thoughts that don't always serve us. And I call that the programmed mind.
Hmm.
There's another intellect, there's another way of thinking, there's another way of feeling, there's another way of having a sense of intuition and experience and heart that flows through us, that gives us a choice, an answer. And oftentimes for many years, I didn't listen to that.
Hmm.
I didn't hear that voice. Mine was colored by the culture and what everybody was doing and what I should have and what it should look like and how it should be, and would I be denigrated because I was on a soap opera. Excuse me. And then when I began to, and I went to therapy and I spent a lot of time really looking at the way I thought about things that didn't serve me. When the soap opera came up, as I said to you, the last thing on earth I wanted to do was a soap opera.
Hmm.
The voice that I heard from my heart and my experience and my true intellect, my natural intellect, not my programmed mind or what I thought was going to happen to me, was I heard another voice that said, you need to do this for your growth.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to say yes, but I knew that it was the road less traveled. It was that point. And I said, I need to do this for something else. And it was again the shift in context. I knew I needed to do it for my life, for myself my selfhood. What was going to be more important? Was I going to make my life and my personal growth more important? Or was I going to make this idea of the career and what I thought I wanted and what I should have? And when I was terrified to make that choice, terrified. I knew I needed to do that. And
That's
so
amazing.
that was the differential for me. And everybody knows that voice. Everybody knows that voice. You can hear it and you can feel it. And when we did Transparent, we worked with this wonderful woman, Joan Shekel. And Joan she said, your emotions ride on the blood and the water in your body, and you can feel something. That's why I always said you never watch Transparent. I don't know how much you both have watched it, but
No,
some people have.
Yeah.
You felt it. You didn't watch it. You
That's
felt
right.
it. You lived through it.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So when I say I can, now that I can have anything I want, and that was actually around my eating. It was around whether because I was, I really had, I wouldn't say an eating disorder, but I had an eating from emotional issue that I really had to handle. And that was partly why I went into therapy. And it was about food and choices of food. And I said, let me see what I want. I didn't know what I wanted. Maybe I wanted a cake or cookies, but I didn't know how to choose that.
Right.
So then when I said I can have anything I want, so I would have a bite of something. I didn't need the whole cake. I didn't need the whole box of cookies.
Yeah.
But it was about learning about choice. And not just what I wanted. You're 3 years old, you want an ice cream, you don't want to eat your broccoli. There's a distinction there.
Yeah.
It wasn't just what I wanted. It was, what am I choosing for myself, for my growth? So so I make choices now out of that. I look at it and I say, no, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not, I don't hear it.
Yeah.
I don't sense it. I don't have the experience of it. And I keep pointing to my gut and my heart, because that's where the
That's where
energy.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's where the
And it's,
tell is. Like
we all know we're
yeah.
smart. We're smart, we're intelligent, but it's not, that's the
Yeah.
choices come from something else. And if you have a larger context, which is, if you want your life to work, the career is only one piece of it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, so I just want to read a question, because we actually have people listening, and someone wrote in this question. I believe our artists are always leading us out of darkness. As the theater turns its lights back on after so much darkness, I'm curious, what does a more liberated theater community look like to you?
More diverse.
Hmm.
Thank you very much. Please. Thank you very much. On all aspects, on all levels, in all jobs, at all times. That's what it looks like. It looks like new, electric, sparkling voices. It looks like, I'm on the board of the MCC Theater, and the expansiveness of what has happened to our board during this time, and what's going to happen and coming forward at MCC is, you're going to see this kind of aliveness. Not that we weren't before, but this is going to be new. We talk about it all the time. And I mean, down to the front of house, to the box office, to the ushers, to the person who stops you and says, I've been trying to write this thing and I can't get anywhere with it. Can you be a voice for this new person, this diverse, interesting? You can't know the world and theater, film, and television. We are the storytellers for the world, who have to have expansive universe and diversity of every voice, so that every person, we're one humanity, so that you get to see yourself
Yeah.
and your community everywhere. And in the theater, that can really happen. And it is happening more, and it has to happen even more. So that's how I see it.
And I just want to let you know, there are some people here from Mexico and Germany and France, and they're all very excited to see you. Eric, I
No,
throw
no,
it
no, no,
to you.
please.
Hello, you all. Hello.
eh,
Hello from around the world. Hello.
you had so much success in TV and the things you didn't want to do with the soap, and a wonderful sitcom for 8 years. How, after more than, I think, 2 decades, how freaking scared were you to come back to the stage?
Yeah.
I've been wanting to ask you that for a long time.
And
Oh,
to do that show.
Yes.
Oh my God. So, it was one of those, I'll back up a little bit. I had finished Who's the Boss. I had a couple of forays into pilots that didn't get picked up, that didn't go. And mind you, the first pilot I made was Who's the Boss, and it went for 8 years. I mean, that's sort of an unusual something else I didn't want to do, but I knew it. It's like I felt it. I heard the voice. Anyway, so, and that's a longer story too. But anyway, so my manager, Herb Hampshire, had said to me, and Herb has since passed. Herb said to me, if you want people to know more about you, you're going to have to transform what you're doing here, because people don't get it. I mean, people thought that I was, I could, maybe act. It was nice, the soap opera and the sitcom, and both of those were fantastic learning experiences for me. That he said, you're going to have to do something different. Got an offer to audition for a play about an aging sitcom star.
Oh,
And
that's
I
the
said,
Jonathan Tolan's play.
you got it. If
yeah.
memory serves.
If memory serves.
And Johnny, who I love.
I like John
And his
too.
partner, Rob Carey, who I also love. And so I got this offer to audition. It was at the Pasadena Playhouse. So I said to Herb, an aging sitcom star, not right for me. He said, it's perfect for you, you idiot. And so, right? Just shows you how much I know, right? So I had gone to this Sikh ladies camp. I was doing Kundalini yoga. I was meditating, blah, blah, blah. I got that I had made a mistake. I called him up. I said, I'll go in. I'll audition for it. He said, too bad. They gave it to somebody already. So when I started looking at it, and I started saying, I'm going around talking about how courageous the LGBTQIA plus community is. And I'm like, why am I being so scared? I mean, I was terrified to audition. I mean, that was the truth of it. I was just absolutely apoplectic. It wasn't the play. The play is fabulous. It was a perfect part for me. He was absolutely right. I just thought, something's wrong. I can't be talking the talk and not walking the walk. I can't be saying how much the community inspires me, has changed my life, has instilled in me this, this way to live life. And I said, I'm not being courageous. I said, okay, the next thing that I get offered to audition for, I mean, people weren't going to give me plays at that point. I'd been away for 22 years. I said, the next thing that comes up, I'll audition for it. The universe is funny, right? So along comes Wit, a play that is so magnificent and so daunting to do. And I said, okay, I'll audition for it. I had to fly myself to New York. And I thought, they're never going to give it to me. This is okay. I'll keep my promise and I won't have to do it. Now, mind you, I have to shave my head. I had to be naked. I'm like, And the play is brilliant. I mean, it's just incredibly gorgeous. And I was taking over for the lauded, extraordinary Kathleen Shelton.
Kathleen Shelton.
I mean, amazing, right? And I thought, they're never going to give it to me.
Best.
This is good. I'll go and do it. And I had an event for my friend Mary Fisher, which was an AIDS event. And so I was going to do that. And then I was going to go audition for them. And I have become close to all of these people now. And I mean, they will you know, verify this moment in time, is my dear friend Daryl Roth, and Bernie Telsey and Bobby Lupone and Will Cantler. And I went in and I auditioned, and they said, "When did you see the play?" And I said, "I haven't seen the play yet. I'm intending to see it." And they said, "Oh, okay." And Derek Anson Jones was there. And at the time, Derek was very sick with AIDS. And I guess I didn't see it on that trip to New York. And then I got back to LA and they said, "We want you to do it." Oh, sorry about that. Oh, I hope Robert can shut that off. I forget how to do that. You see how technical I am at the beginning of this. I can't do anything.
Don't worry, it's all good. We're going to edit it. And
honey.
thank you, honey.
Thank
you, Robert.
That I didn't. I kept saying no. I kept saying no, and I kept saying no. But I knew, you know, that voice we were talking about before. I knew underneath the no was a yes. I knew I had to do it. Yeah. I knew I had to do it for the discipline, the learning. What did it mean to shave my head? What did it mean to be naked in front of people? What was it going to do for me, for my life? They didn't want me to do it in New York unless I was going to go on the road. So I had to do it in I did it in Boston and at the Kennedy Center and in Florida and in San Francisco. And so I did it for almost a year. And it was daunting. And I had, you know, I knew I was facing the New York critics, and I just, you know, and Derek was not well, and it was hard for him to put me into the show. So I came back and I saw the show. I saw Kathleen do it and was blown away. And Derek had his friend from Yale, Leah Gardner, who's since become a lauded director in the theater. And she was the one who helped put me into the show. And it was it was a transformative experience. And I chose it from hearing something else. And I chose it to face whatever I had to face out of my, and I always say it's Daryl and Bernie and Will and Bobby at MCC, but it was the community. It was the gay community that gave me the courage and the inspiration to really put myself out there, to stop just talking about what I believed in and to actually live it.
Wow. We have a question from the audience. What helped you recover after such a load of projects and roles?
I don't need to recover. I mean, when I do the project, I'm so there, I'm present, I do it. And I have a life. I mean, you know, my husband and I have been together for years and years. And so I have a life and my friends, and I get to do the things that I haven't done, you know, like now organizing the house or, you know, reading and studying and looking what's the next, you know, project might it be. Right. And, you know, absorbing whatever I've just done. So I don't need that sort of recovery time. I mean, I know some people do. And I think if it's a really challenging situation, I'll rest and let down. But I tend not to need a lot of recovery time. I take a bath every single night, and I meditate twice a day. And that may have.
So there it is. Yeah.
That may have some, and I do yoga. That has and I work out. That has a lot to do with it, I think. So that I'm in the moment, and then I'm in the next moment. You know, people used to say to me after WIT, they said, "Ugh, how do you do that? I'm devastated. Well, the character has gone through the whole journey. So
Yeah.
I'm complete. It's the audience that's left with whatever
Mhm.
they're left with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of hold that in the same way. I don't need a lot of recovery time. And I sleep, I do sleep. I do get sleep.
I can't believe an hour has flown by.
No.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has flown by, Judith. But, I binge watched American Crime Story, where you played Susan Carpenter McMillan.
Yeah.
Who became Paula Jones's spokesperson during her
Yes.
lawsuit. All I can, I don't know why I do this, but it's like, I love watching you sink your teeth into parts like that. I love watching Judith Light grab a piece of somebody and portray it on the screen. I
Thank you.
love it.
Thank you. That I all in all deference to my dear Ryan Murphy. I mean,
Yes.
he sees that. He knows. I mean, when he called me about doing The Politician with Bette Midler, he said, I want to have you in a sexual throuple with two men. How do you feel about that? I said, I'm in. And it's like, but what I mean, these roles are they're so delicious. So this is I get this.
And you also say that it's your job to be your character's best friend. But you credit Ryan because he's able to find the nuances in the female characters that he writes.
When we talked about mature women and their sexuality, and Ryan said to me, that's one of the issues that's my holy grail. He said, I want people to know about that and to understand that, and I want to show it. I want to demonstrate it, which, I mean, hats off to him for all of that. And when you see Impeachment, you see that this is a story that is told from a different context. This is a story that's told from the context. This is the story of the women.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about all of the men, but this is a story about the women.
It's incredible, and
And
the work
you'll
that
see,
Ryan
Oh, he's just, I mean,
and Hallie Pfeiffer. I love the playwrights from New York. Ryan is grabbing the ones like Hallie Pfeiffer, and she's producing
Sarah
it too. I love her. Yes, I mean, it's incredible. We have all of our incredible women playwrights. I don't want to lose them all, but going out to LA and but they can do both.
Yeah.
You're not gonna lose anybody. There is a world now where the world is where we are, all of us, having the availability to go back and forth.
Yeah.
We do, and we wish to, and we choose to. So you're really not going to lose anybody. Look, I just finished shooting Julia, the series for HBO Max about Julia Child, and it's Daniel Goldfarb. Who's a New York playwright. I mean, he did it with Chris Kaiser, who, did Party of Five and among a million other things. But I mean, you've got those people writing these stories. And what comes of that is this, they're in the room with the other writers who have only maybe done television, and they're already brilliant at this. They're extraordinary. So you're adding something, it's another spice to the stew, and you're not gonna lose anybody, honey.
It's a welcome spice. Yeah.
If you do, that'll make more room for more diverse voices.
Of course.
Yeah. Right.
Judith Light. This has been an incredible.
Don't forget to watch Tick Tick Boom, because that's
yes.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Lin Manuel Miranda, you play Jonathan Larson's agent.
Yeah, Rosa Stevens. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is coming out when?
I believe it's on Netflix and on November the 19th. Or maybe it's in the theaters. I don't know exactly. You'll have to check, but do check it, because
we'll put it up on our website. Andrew Garfield is
another theater person.
Yeah.
And we lost our dear Jonathan Larson.
We had it's November. Oh, excuse me. It's November 12th. Okay. That is the day that it premieres.
And it premieres in the theaters, and then it starts on Netflix, I believe, on Friday, November the 19th. I believe that's right. And then I just did another film with our dear Zachary Quinto, another glorious person from the community. So
love him too.
Love him. And you guys have been remarkable. Thank you so much.
You are remarkable.
Oh,
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's like a dream came true. And I am sitting here talking to you. And I had hundreds of questions.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind texting me your phone number, and I'll just text you all these questions, if you don't mind.
I really don't mind. And, sometimes they do a reboot, like on television shows where you do a reboot. We can talk about a reboot.
All right.
I hope, when we're back live at the Lortel, that's when you'll come back. But I thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending some time with us and shedding some light on your advocacy and your artistry. I just think you are one in a million. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both.
And that is our show. Next Monday, November 15th, Joy and I will interview the brilliant Tova Felcha. In addition to all her honors, Tony nominations, a Lortel Award, 3 honorary doctorates, and many others, we will talk about her support of Hand in Hand, whose mission is to build partnerships and equality between the Jewish and Arab citizens of Israel through a growing network of integrated Jewish Arab schools and communities throughout the country. Then on Monday, November 22nd, John Andrew and I will be speaking with the incredible Norm Lewis, who is currently appearing in the shows on Netflix and Hulu, and we will talk about his amazing theatrical career, including currently starring on Broadway in Chicken and Biscuits, his off-Broadway credits, and his time in Phantom. We will also talk about Black Theater United, of which he is a founding member. B2U stands together to help protect Black people, Black talent, and Black lives of all shapes and orientations in theater and communities across the country. More information about these and future guests and how to attend our recordings online can be found on our website, liveathelortel.com. I also want to let you know about Tinsel, a global holiday festival at the Lucille Lortel Theater in December. Tinsel is New York City's holiday event of the season, showcasing effervescent live music, performance, and dance with leading artists from around the table. Tickets are available at lortel.org. Thank you for joining us. Remember, get vaccinated, wear a mask, and be safe. We hope to see you in the theater really soon. Judith Light, you are a light. And I thank you from the bottom of our heart. You are incredible. Thank you so much for everything you do. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for taking
my
care of the
pleasure.
Lortel.